Everyone says they want to hear the truth, but in reality, many people's logic is not rigorous and needs to be polished to make up for it. For example, in the story shared by a netizen today, she said that one night not long ago, she went to eat skewered food with her boyfriend and her boyfriend's brother, Kyangzi. After having some beer, they went home around 1 o'clock. After returning home, her boyfriend was washing up when his phone received a WeChat message. Xiaodong looked at Kyangzi's girlfriend and urged them to go over to Kyangzi's place quickly. Kyangzi's girlfriend works in another place and is not by his side. At that time, the girlfriend also mentioned that Kyangzi had become very strange, suddenly and inexplicably called her to propose a breakup, and said a lot of things she couldn't understand, including mentioning the riverside and her boyfriend. Because they still had to work the next day, Kyangzi himself acted even more exaggeratedly, so her boyfriend thought it was nothing serious and thought they should go to sleep. However, women are usually more curious, and Kyangzi's girlfriend kept sending messages to Xiaodong through WeChat. Then, Kyangzi's girlfriend suddenly sent a message saying that Kyangzi really went to the riverside and they were video chatting. Upon hearing this, Xiaodong decided to go and see. At this time, Kyangzi's girlfriend directly sent a voice message saying that Kyangzi's phone suddenly cut off, and she had been sending messages to him, but Kyangzi replied that he couldn't save himself. Then, in the voice message, she pleaded with Xiaodong to go over quickly. Xiaodong was initially a bit skeptical, so she made a video call to Kyangzi. After the call was connected, she saw Kyangzi shouting for help on the screen, saying he couldn't move. Moreover, the camera was shaking all the time, as if someone had snatched his phone. For a moment, the camera was less shaky, and Xiaodong saw a very clear dark shadow behind Kyangzi. This time, Xiaodong was really scared and quickly turned on the light and woke up her boyfriend. Her boyfriend rode his bike and rushed over. As for Xiaodong, she didn't dare to stay at home alone, so she took her dog to a late-night snack shop next to their house and sat there waiting for her boyfriend to come back. About 40 minutes later, her boyfriend came back with Kyangzi. Her boyfriend was trembling all over, his eyes were dull, and he didn't speak. Kyangzi looked like he was silly, didn't speak, and had no expression. Xiaodong held her boyfriend's hand and asked him what happened. Her boyfriend usually has a gentle, gentlemanly, and calm personality. But he trembled again, clenched his teeth and stared at Xiaodong, saying that he really saw something floating. What was going on? He said that he was fine all the way to the riverside, but when he arrived at the riverside, he suddenly trembled inexplicably and felt particularly cold. Then, when he arrived at the riverside, he saw something on the wall. At that time, Kyangzi was lying straight by the riverside, but the direction of his head was obviously pulled towards the riverside by an invisible force. Her boyfriend shouted loudly, rushed over, and called Kyangzi's name. Then, Kyangzi fainted, and her boyfriend pinched him. After a while, Kyangzi woke up, and her boyfriend quickly took him away. When leaving, he looked back at the riverside and found a long-haired woman in a green robe standing by the riverside, but she had no feet. They quickly rode their bikes away, not daring to look back, but always feeling that someone was chasing them. Moreover, on the way back, Kyangzi suddenly went crazy and struggled to get off the bike. Her boyfriend scolded Kyangzi and asked him why he was doing this. As a result, Kyangzi suddenly hugged him. Then, through the rear-view mirror, her boyfriend saw Kyangzi smiling sinisterly at him, so her boyfriend was scared and stopped the car directly, trying to get rid of Kyangzi. But at this time, Kyangzi tightly clamped him with his arms and legs and didn't let go. Just then, a private car passed by them. It was strange that Kyangzi suddenly seemed to have recovered, but he couldn't speak and had no expression, looking very sluggish. So her boyfriend had no choice but to ride his bike and bring Qiangzi over. After the two of them finished talking, Xiaodong asked Qiangzi what had happened, but Qiangzi still didn't speak and had no expression. More than half an hour later, Qiangzi suddenly trembled and seemed to have recovered, almost falling off the stool. At this time, he looked normal and asked how he was here. Her boyfriend told him the whole story from beginning to end. Qiangzi recalled that he didn't want to go to the riverside, but there was always a voice in his ears telling him to go, and he inexplicably went. After going, he couldn't control his body and wanted to jump into the river. But at that time, he was on the phone with his girlfriend and knew that he couldn't jump, which was a contradictory state. Until Xiaodong took a video of him again, he found it hard to explain his state, so he kept calling for help, and then he felt a dark in front of him and fainted. He didn't know what happened afterwards. Then the three of them chatted and discussed what had happened to this matter, and then her boyfriend trembled again. At that time, Xiaodong asked him what was wrong, and her boyfriend said that he saw the woman in green clothes on the other side of the road now. Because the hotel they were in at the time was a transparent glass, they could see the outside, but Xiaodong and Qiangzi couldn't see it. The three of them didn't dare to go home until the next morning. At that time, her boyfriend had to go to work, so he arranged for Qiangzi to stay in their living room. Xiaodong slept well in the bedroom. Not long after Qiangzi lay down, he suddenly called Xiaodong's name outside, and the voice was very long. At that time, Xiaodong was almost scared to death, because Qiangzi had never called his name, but had called his nickname. Xiaodong said he was going to sleep, and if Qiangzi got up, what would he say? Qiangzi didn't answer, and it was quiet outside. But Xiaodong couldn't sleep until noon before he dared to come out of the bedroom. At that time, Qiangzi had already fallen asleep in the living room. Then Xiaodong woke up Qiangzi and asked him what he was doing when he called him at that time. As a result, Qiangzi looked blank and said that he fell asleep on the sofa and didn't call Xiaodong at all. Then he asked Xiaodong to go home, leaving Xiaodong and her boyfriend. However, nothing strange happened afterwards, as if the whole thing ended inexplicably. In fact, I personally look forward to the sequel of this story. If there is one, I must share it with everyone as soon as possible. Well, let's see the next story.